Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the September Ordinary Council meeting. I'm Helen Sadler. I'm the presiding member this evening. The meeting's being opened at 2 minutes past 6. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Whadjuk Noongar people, the traditional owners of the land in which we're meeting tonight, and to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and particularly pay my respects to any Whadjuk Noongar people who are present this evening. I'd like to also draw your attention to the disclaimer at the front of the agenda that advises that formal meetings of council will be audio and visually recorded and are also currently being live streamed this evening. There are no announcements by me this evening, and then I'd just like to move on to public question time. That's speeding things up very nicely. There are no public questions. I'm aware there are quite a few public statements, and the administration has grouped those together to make it logical for the people in the audience and also for us. May I say that if all your points have been covered in a public statement, we'd still very much welcome you to stand up, but you may wish just to summarise and endorse the statements made by previous people. Can I please first call to the microphone Yvonne Hart, and for the benefit of the people who are attending remotely and also for the minutes, just to state your full name and address. Thank you. Welcome, Mrs. Hart.
Good evening, councillors. It's really nice to be here again and say hello to you all. Yvonne Hart, Upper Remand Street in Cottesloe. And the item that I would like to speak to tonight is item 10.1.1, which is live streaming and recording of council meetings. I did send an email through to you earlier today, realising, of course, that You are busy people and probably haven't had time to read it. But tonight, elected members will be considering an updated policy for live streaming and recording of meetings, and my request is that you not endorse and improve all the proposed amendments. The current policy applies to all agenda items, elected meetings, ordinary and special council meetings that are held in the council chambers. So that is all 4 types of meetings held in the council chambers will be live streamed and recorded. As elected meetings are unlikely to be held in the council chambers, the current policy is clear. It's the best practice, and it is consistent with the council's priority to provide open and accountable governance. And so, in my opinion, to remove agenda forums from the live stream policy effectively removes 50% of council meetings from the ratepayers. And to remove agenda forums from the live streaming policy is really not best practice. It's not open, and really it's not accountable. It's taken almost 4 years since COVID for Town of Cottesloe to finally bring live streaming to fruition. During COVID, ratepayers endured meetings in the Memorial Hall, unable to hear much of what was being said, with microphones inadequate and visuals too far away to be seen. Now that technology in council chambers is finally here, council really should take advantage of the technology, consider the financial investment in setting up the system, and get value for ratepayers for the $50,000 odd that it's spent to bring council chambers in line with modern technology. And I suggest that elected members also consider the time invested in the live streaming policy that was adopted in August 2023. As a local community, we should get value for money and use the technology more, not less. The asset should not sit idle for 50% of council meetings simply because the meeting is identified as an agenda forum. And therefore, elected members, when you're considering 10.1.1, the live streaming and recording of council meetings, I respectfully request that you do not endorse and approve all the proposed amendments to the current policy, that the policy should remain as it is, and that the current live streaming and recording of meetings detailed in the policy apply to agenda forums as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hart. Next is Mrs. Susan Freeth.
Thank you. My name's Sue Freeth, 1 Florence Street, Cottesloe. I'd like to speak on item 10.1.5, the Green Infrastructure Strategy, and specifically on the Natural Areas Management Plan on behalf of Cottesloe Coast Care. We'd like to thank the Council for the initiative to develop a Green Infrastructure Strategy and also for putting it out to community consultation. It was pleasing to note that there was strong support, 93%, from the community for the restoration and maintenance of the natural areas. And just to clarify, the natural areas are primarily the dunes from North Street to Vlaming, the most visited part of Cottesloe. It is not parks and gardens, verges and roundabouts. We note that the recommendation to restore the budget has been accepted, and we appreciate this. The other strategic recommendation was to employ a bush care officer, which also received good support from the community. We note the current recommendation about the employment of a full-time bush care officer says it is not necessary in the immediate future until further analysis is undertaken as part of the town's workforce planning. Coast Care appreciates that further consideration will be given to the employment of a bush care officer. Coast Care has, on several occasions, put forward alternative suggestions about a bush care officer, but these have not yet been discussed or considered together by the parties concerned, that is the town, Cottesloe Coast Care and Perth NRM. We believe this should be referred to the Natural Areas Alliance for discussion and advice before it goes to the town's workforce planning session. The issues that led to the recommendation for a bush care officer still exist. These include the need to ensure that we get full value from contractors to prevent money being wasted, transfer knowledge and skills from Coast Care to the town to build capacity in the natural area team. These issues are becoming more critical. It is widely recognised in the volunteering sector that attitudes to volunteering have changed. It is unlikely that the effort and knowledge that Coast Care has brought to the natural areas in the past will continue in the future. Last year, Coast Care organised 47 events and contributed over 1,800 hours of volunteer labour. This is approximately the same as a full-time position. In addition, we bring 30 years of experience of what works on the Cottesloe Coast and what doesn't. We support the town's aim, as stated here, to ensure best practice and cost effectiveness in the preservation of all green infrastructure, and that includes the natural areas. As we have noted in our submission, over-reliance on volunteers for core skills is a risk to the town's long-term success. We think the time is now to refer this recommendation for a Bush Care officer to the Natural Areas Alliance for further discussion. Whether or not a Bush Care officer is the right approach, change is needed, and we do still have time to work out the best way forward. Together, we've come a long way and achieved a lot. However, there are still challenges ahead, and we need to keep talking, and the Natural Areas Alliance is the right forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Freeth. Next, we have Nick Cook.
Thank you, councillors. My name's Nick Cook. I'm a Claremont resident, but I'm here as chairperson of the West Australian Tree Canopy Advocates. WATCA is an umbrella organisation of 26 community-driven tree canopy advocacy groups across WA, representing over 25,000 supporters, including right here in Cottesloe. The issue of dramatically dwindling urban canopy is an issue that is of great concern to communities across Perth and the regions. As of 2020, Perth had canopy cover of 16%, the lowest of any Australian capital city. It's getting hotter, it's getting drier. Last summer broke all records, and then we are dealing with the borer. The people of Cottesloe and hundreds of thousands of visitors to this iconic suburb will increasingly rely on Cottesloe's urban canopy for relief from the summer heat, both this generation and those that follow. WATCA congratulates the council and its officers in recognising that this is an issue and one that must be planned for now and for future generations of Cottesloe residents and visitors in the decades ahead. There is no single magic bullet to the problem of urban canopy. The GIS is an important piece of the puzzle, but it is also very important that you include in your arsenal of options all of the tools available to you. WATCA fully support the setting of a 30% by 2040 target. I respectfully offer an alternative view to the officer's recommendation that regulatory approaches should be parked temporarily and re-looked at when supported by state government legislation. You will get no argument from me that the state government should take responsibility for regulating urban canopy. However, the fact is that the state government is not budging on this issue. This has been the state of play for too long. The result is Perth's canopy crisis. We cannot continue down this road of inaction, resulting in the continued loss of urban canopy. Local government must keep all options available open to them. Effective regulatory options are available, and I encourage Council to retain the ability to consider these options, as a growing number of LGAs are now doing. In the last few years, I've spoken with councils, planners and land managers across Perth. The message is unsurprisingly consistent. Around 80% of tree loss occurs on private property, and despite public planting efforts, canopy continues to decline. Significant tree registers will not protect urban canopy on a landscape scale. They are voluntary and subject to the whims of future councils. They do not provide permanent protection. WATCA believe in the absence of state government leadership, it is crucial that local government take the lead with the tools that you have available. In support of this, WALGA has developed a template local planning policy for the regulation of significant tree removal. It is well constructed, legal opinions obtained support the policy, and most importantly, it does not require the approval of the planning minister or the state government. Regulation remains a viable strategy, and we urge Council not to park the option, to consider keeping regulation in the toolkit. I believe this is the only way that the state government will finally get the message that local governments across Perth have been sending for years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Peter Rattigan.
Peter Rattigan, 9 Grant Street, Cottesloe. I'm a member of the Cottesloe Tree Canopy Advocates, with a number of other people, and I support what Mr Cook has said. I'd also support the council taking the initiatives that it has. I'm aware that I sat in, I think, before 2008, there was a lot of community consultation to get the 2008 Natural Management Areas Plan. Then again in 2015, and now we have another Natural Management Plan. The Tree Canopy Advocates did a door knock survey along Grant Street in February of this year. We door knocked every house, so we left a pamphlet. There were 41 people responded to that survey between Curtin Avenue and Marine Parade, most of the residents. There was 91% of those people were in favour of implementing what was in the 2008 Natural Management Plan, and that was putting a little bit of infill planting along the median strip of Grant Street. That would allow the Norfolk Island pines to continue there. It would allow the parking to continue, but would put a little bit of infill planting. That was envisaged in 2008. It still hasn't happened. It would be good if some of the effort that goes into the planning and the surveys actually went into planting trees and greening up the infrastructure. I'm sure the councillors, if they get out into the community, they get the same response that I get, that people in Cottesloe want more tree cover. It's as simple as that. You don't need a survey to find that. You can go to any cafe and ask people. And I would urge the council to take on board what Mr Cook has said and actually implement something that's going to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Rattigan. Camille Gibson.
Hi, I'm Camille Gibson from 22 Perth Street in Cottesloe. I normally talk about trees, but I'm talking about cats tonight. So that is 10 cat containment.
11.1. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to say that I support Mr Cook and Mr Rattigan and what they've said about tree canopy. So look, I'm mostly talking about my own experience with cats, and I fully support this motion to put in a local law about cat containment. So I was out, this is just the other day, I was out the front talking to a couple of neighbours. One has 3 cats. I said, I'm pretty sure you can't have 3. He said, oh, I don't care what the council says, I'm getting another 2. And I said, well, actually, I don't really want more cats because Martha here is putting in a native garden out the back and she's just, in effect, creating a cat buffet. And that neighbour said, oh, actually, yeah, I don't really want any more cats in the area either. So the issue for me is that cats come onto our property, and I love cats. I used to have a cat. It disappeared during the tenure of a house sitter, but that's another story. So it's not the cats, it's their effect on our wildlife. And we've heard about the green infrastructure strategy looking to enhance our wildlife, but at the same time we've got cats roaming. It's estimated that 71% of cats in residential areas do roam. And just the other day I had a dead bird in my back garden which I examined, and I could see that there was some trauma, some bite marks on it. So I want you to consider this before you kick this can down the road to do with the cat containment policy, and that is that while we sit on our hands, cats in our area, and this is based on data from Sydney Uni, and I'm happy to give you that reference if you'd like it, that registered cats, it's estimated that in our area there's 155 and they will kill 15 animals per month. And over a year, you can tot that up, but over a month that's 2,400. And unregistered cats are estimated at 117, and they'll kill the same amount per month. And we heard last week from the gentleman from the Feral Cat Working Group that pet cats and domesticated cats actually kill more animals than feral cats. So I'm just urging you that don't wait for this for another 12 months to review this policy. Can we do something now? Because it's really creating some discord between neighbours. I love my neighbours, but I don't love what they do with cats. And, you know, they really think Fluffy won't hurt a flea, but I think we all know otherwise. Anyway, thank you for the consideration, and please take some action.
Thank you. Joan Sharp.
Thank you. I live Joan Sharp, 53 Kathleen Street, Cottesloe. I too am speaking about cat containment, item 11.1. This is what the previous speaker. I too like cats and know the mental health and other benefits for people and families who have pets. We used to have a cat which we loved. I do, however, strongly support changes to cat management for the benefit of the cats as well as the bush and private property owners at both local and state government level. As a member of BirdLife WA, the Wildlife Society and WA Naturalists, I'm only mentioning these because people have their ears close to the ground and we share these similar concerns. And we are very concerned about the loss of biodiversity. I've been an active member of Mellon Hill Bush Care Group, used to be called Allen Park, for 28 years. We have several families of purple-backed and white-winged fairy wrens and have recently found quenda diggings in the bushland. These species are particularly susceptible to hunting by cats. Regarding cats on others' properties, it seems the onus is not on the cat owners to keep their cats on their premises. Instead, this falls to the neighbour or other person on whose property the cat is trespassing to request this. I'm tired of being the ogre in this scenario, and besides, I like to have a good relationship with my neighbours. Once one has mentioned a tricky situation about their cat on one's property, the atmosphere is changed forever. We have a native garden with birds, and we have witnessed the neighbour's cat kill a willy wagtail on our property. We put the dead bird on their lawn as a reminder, but to no avail. We grow vegetables in our backyard. Having cats use our garden, this incidentally was picked up in our backyard, it's a cat collar. We have the cats use our garden as a toilet is obviously not appropriate. We set a camera trap in our backyard and had video evidence of this, 2 separate cats. We are also tired of repeatedly cleaning our doors and fly screens where cats have sprayed. I completed and sent to this council a form similar to this on the 13th of December 2022 and have rung the council since and was told by the person answering the phone, well, you can't expect cats to stay in their yards. Therefore, I'd like to thank the present council for hosting the excellent cat management seminar last year and Councillor Bulbeck for this current proposal. And by the way, not really relevant, but I don't have it in only for cats. I know Homo sapiens as a species needs to clean up its act as far as environmental degradation is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. Dina Lewis. No, Dina. Helen Bunning. So just saying that those are 2 people who weren't here who had sent in things on 11.1. Thank you very much, everybody. That's the end of public statement time. Just moving on to attendance now. We have approved leave of absence for Mayor Lorraine Young and Councillor Thomas. Do we have any apologies from members of staff?
No, we don't, but you may want to ask Councillor Heath for her declaration.
Yes, we have Councillor Sonia Heath attending remotely, and she needs to. She's already sent in her declaration, but she needs to receive that for clarification. Thank you, Councillor Heath.
Okay, hello everyone. The location from which I'm attending the meeting and the equipment I intend to use are suitable for me to effectively engage in the deliberations and communications during this meeting. And when we go behind closed doors, I can maintain confidentiality. I'm sitting in a room alone and I have Wi-Fi and free to the internet.
Thank you very much, Councillor Heath. I neglected to mention item 6.1, apologies. I think that there are none.
Through the chair, sorry, just notice on the officers' attendance, it's missing Sandra Watson, who's the Acting Director of Corporate Community Services.
Thank you very much. Welcome, Sandra. Item 6.3, do we have any applications for leave of absence? Item 7, declaration of interests. I'll start from my left. Councillor Wilenko, Councillor Irvine, Councillor Harkins.
10.1.3, Seaview Golf Club members are known to me. I can act impartially and make a decision based on the merits. 10.1.5, Green Infrastructure Strategy. People in the affected streets are known to me, but I can act impartially, make a decision on the facts provided.
Thank you. Councillor Harkins. Councillor Bulbeck.
10.1.5, I have Norfolk Island pines growing on both of my streets, but I can make my decision impartially. And I also wanted to suggest changing the order so that we could look at the agenda items that people have spoken on.
Thank you very much for that suggestion, Councillor Bulbeck. I'm sure we can acquiesce. Councillor Mason.
Yes, I do have a declaration of impartiality on 10.1.5, the Green Infrastructure Strategy. I reside on a street, a Norfolk Island Pine Street, that is mentioned, but I can make my decision based on merit.
Thank you. Councillor Heath.
Oh, hello. For item 13.1.2, the Magpies Lights application, I'd just like to declare that my children play for the Magpies Football Club and will be members of that club for many years, but I will be able to make my decision on that matter with impartiality.
Thank you, Councillor Heath. And can I encourage you to do as you just did and actually give a nice big physical wave, because it really does catch my eye because I'm a little bit focused on the room. So don't feel shy about doing that. And Jacqueline's going to be watching the screen as well. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Through the Chair, I'd like to also declare a financial interest in item 13.1.3 as it relates to my contract of employment.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 6, confirmation of minutes. We've got 2 sets of minutes to confirm. I will take them one by one. Would someone like to move that the minutes of the special council meeting held on Tuesday, the 20th of August 2024, can be confirmed as a true and accurate record? Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Harkins, a seconder. Councillor Wilenko. All those in favour? That's unanimous, including Councillor Heath. That's at 7. And then next, that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting of council held on Tuesday, the 27th of August 24, can be confirmed as a true and accurate record. Can I have a mover for that? Councillor Harkins, seconder. Councillor Bulbeck. All those in favour? That's unanimous, including Councillor Heath. Thank you. There are no presentations tonight and no deputations. So moving on to reports, if you could provide some assistance with regard to items which are to be passed on block or withdrawn to debate, whichever way you'd like to go.
Through the Chair, so the following items have been called up by councillors to debate. So items 10.1.1, 10.1.3, 10.1.5, 10.1.6, 11.1 and 13.11, 13.12 and 13.13. They haven't been called up, but they're confidential items that need to be discussed separately. So the items that have not been called up, to my knowledge, item 10.1.2, monthly financial statements, 10.1.4, Anderson Pavilion, third-party use, One Warlawn Cricket Club. And that's it.
So could I have a mover that the council adopts the following en bloc officer recommendations contained in the agenda for the ordinary council meeting of council 24th of September 2024, items 10.1.2 and 10.1.4. Thank you, Councillor Mason. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Harkins. All those in favour?
Oh, sorry, I wanted to propose an amendment. Did I have to do it?
Yes.
Sorry, my apologies.
This is the en bloc. So it's just items we're moving on, which can be voted on block as the monthly financial statements and the Anderson Pavilion third-party use. Okay, so can we do that vote again? So that was Councillor Mason moved, seconded Councillor Harkins. All those in favour? That is unanimous. So if we can then change the order, I can just do that as a
From the chair, yep.
From the chair, thank you. So if we can start then by moving first to item 10.1.5, the green infrastructure public consultation.
Through the chair, there are public present for 10.1.1.
My apologies. Well, we'll just do that in order. Yes, thank you. I do apologise. That makes more sense to do it for the 3 items rather than flip-flop around. My apologies, Mrs Hart. Yes, if we can move to, first we'll start in order with item 10.1.1 on page 10. So that is item 10.1.1. With the officer's recommendation on page 13. Do I have a mover for the officer's recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Harkins. Do we have a seconder for the officer's recommendation, which is that council approves the amended live streaming and recorded meeting of policy as attached? Councillor Heath, thank you very much. Would you like to speak to that, Councillor Harkins?
Just briefly, I think it's tremendous that we are live streaming and that we have set up this room well, and it seems to be working well. It's not cost effective to have this sort of technology in the Lesser Hall or the War Memorial Hall if we were to have the electors' meetings live streamed, and for various reasons we discussed the reasons why not for the agenda forum. So we're voluntarily live streaming the OCMs, which I think is fabulous, and obviously these are the meetings where decisions are made. So if someone from the public wishes to see a decision being made and they're not able to attend the meeting, then it's fabulous that it is live streamed. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Heath, did you want to speak in support and seconder? Oh, just your microphone on, please.
I agree with Councillor Harkins' comments, and also now that we've caught up with the legislation, I think it's great that we're ahead of the game there, and live streaming our meetings in this room, but not the agenda form. I don't think that's necessary.
Thank you. Does anybody want to speak against? Councillor Wilenko?
Thank you. I'd like to speak against the motion because I do believe that agenda forms should also be included in the live streaming. I think we have the technology, it's here, it's available, it's not going to cost us anything more to do it with agenda forms. I do agree that I think elector meetings is a problem because that's generally in the other room, and that would be quite a difficulty. But so I wouldn't support this motion because I think the policy should be amended to include agenda forums as part of the live streaming and recording of meetings policy. Thanks.
Were you proposing an amendment, Councillor Wilenko?
I would suggest just oppose this motion, and then if it doesn't pass, then administration could go back, amend accordingly, and bring it back. I don't like amending policies through our
So I'm going to, so Councillor Mason is wanting to speak in favour, and I would invite you to suggest a deferral if you are wanting to vote against. Councillor Mason, you want to speak in favour of the policy?
Yes, I agree with Councillor Harkins and Councillor Heath's remarks. I think we're already going above what we need to do, and I think it's fabulous that we are live streaming and that we do have the technology. Obviously, there is a cost involved, apart from the original setup cost of the technology. We also have staff members here for that particular purpose, and it would be a cost to then have them here as well for the agenda forum. It's not a formal meeting, and I don't think it's required.
Councillor Bulbup, you were wanting to speak against?
Sorry, I wanted to propose an amendment, although Councillor Wilenko might be right that it's a bit more complicated than it looks. The amendment I was proposing to propose was that the policy applies to all, and agenda forums is not struck out, and then ordinary and special council meetings held in the council chamber, but it might have consequential impact on some of the other clauses. So if it doesn't, that would be my amendment I'd be proposing.
I think you need to actually decide whether you're moving an amendment and
I'll
move
move
it.
that amendment.
Or, as I say, if you're worried about having implications, then to move a
No, no, I'll
deferral.
move-
But so that we need to be quite clear about what your
Yes.
wording is, and then we'd need to have a seconder for your amendment once you'd been clear.
Do you want me to state it again? So
I
that-
would need you to state it so that it can be written
Yeah.
down.
So my
we
amendment is
it can be
that-
read by elected members, and then somebody would need to second it for debate.
Sorry, so I state again what my amendment is, and
Yes,
then I
so the
look for a
current
second.
officer recommendation is that council approves the amended live streaming and recorded meetings policy as attached.
with the exception of 2.1, which will state this policy applies to all agenda forums, ordinary and special council meetings held in the council chamber.
With the exception of 2.1, that this policy
Applies to all agenda forums, ordinary and special council meetings held in the council chamber.
with the exception of 2.1, that this policy applies to all agenda forums, ordinary and special
Council meetings held in the council chamber.
meetings held in the council chamber.
Do you have a seconder for that amendment? Councillor Irvine, did you want, Councillor Bilbeck, did you want to speak to that?
Just to say, I can understand the arguments that we are using additional resources besides just live streaming, but I can also appreciate the statement made by Ms Hart that we've now put a lot of energy and effort into developing this technology, and it does seem that that we're missing the opportunity to live stream the agenda forum, which is publicly, the public is able to come in and listen to us, watch us doing it. So, yeah.
Councillor Irvine, did you want to speak to the amendment?
Yes, I think it's a digital world. We're heading more and more digital and not less. And I think that this is a very good opportunity for people to be able to see a live stream of the debate that happens in the agenda forum. And
Can I just correct you there, because we're asking questions at an agenda forum, so I wouldn't want the public to, so it's
Sorry,
just a
questions
point of
of-
clarification.
Thank
Wouldn't
you.
want the public to think we were debating at an agenda forum.
Yeah, thank you, sorry. Thank you for pulling me up there. So the questions and discussions around the agenda forum, I think, lead into the decision-making in the ordinary council meeting, and I think it's very helpful for people to be able to live stream, particularly people that may have disabilities and can't get out of their homes and would like to do it from home, and I really would like to see that opened up to many, many more residents of Cottesloe. Thank you.
Is anyone wanting to speak against the amendment? Councillor Harkins.
Simply to say, we haven't had demand for people to come to agenda forums because it is only questions, no decisions are made. Anyone that I speak to, it's the decisions they want to listen to and the debate, not questions. So I would reiterate Councillor Mason's very valid point. The thing everyone does complain to us is about staffing costs. So why would we endure more staffing costs when it's not necessary? Thank you.
Does anyone want to speak in favour of the amendment? Look, I would just speak against the amendment to say that, thank you, Mr Radican, for the digital world reminder, was just to say that we are not even required to live stream. I'm so delighted that we are live streaming. I think it's a fantastic thing to be doing for our council meetings. But I'm also really respectful of the fact that there's some people who would actually find it quite intimidating as a member of the community to have to come up and speak about something, knowing that it's live streamed for the entire community. So what it does is it gives an opportunity for people to come up at an agenda forum and to ask questions or to make a public statement, knowing that while it's being, that view is being articulated to elected members who are the decision makers, that it gives gives them an opportunity not to put themselves quite so out there. And I commend the people who've come up to speak about cats in a very public fashion tonight, but there might be people who would be reluctant to do so and might just come up to an agenda forum and not come up to a council meeting. So I'm all for transparency, and I think that we are going to have that by having our live streaming occur at council meetings. So I support it. I support the officer's recommendation, and I would be voting against the amendment, although I really respect the intent of that amendment. So that would be, that's my views. Thank you. Does anybody else want to speak for or against? Councillor Wilenko.
Thank you. Obviously, I agree with the intent, but I think just looking at it, I'm not sure that the amendment actually works, because you go into Part 3 and that refers again to ordinary and special council meetings. That's why I suggested that we should just not support the motion, let the administration redraft appropriately and then come back. Thanks.
Okay. So I'm going to put this amendment to the vote. All those in favour of the amendment? All those against? So that is 6-1, with Councillor Irvine voting in favour of the amendment. I'm now going to move to the officer's recommendation and put that to the vote. All those in favour of the officer's recommendation? That is 6-1, with Councillor Wilenko voting against, popping his hand up to vote against. Thank you very much. So, thank you very much, Mrs. Hart.
Thank you, everyone. It's not the result that I would have liked it, but thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. So I'm going to move on now to item 10.1.5, the Green Infrastructure Strategy Public Consultation on page 27. And because of the extent of time and effort and consultation that's gone into this, I am, just from the chair, going to move the officer's recommend.
Mr. Chair, we do have a couple of alternative council motions.
Yes, and I think if we don't get a seconder or it gets voted down, then that's fine, sort of in respect of the administration having gone to so much trouble. So I was just going to move the officer's recommendation to get things started for the green, but as I say, see if I had a seconder, and there are other motions, so I'm expecting someone to foreshadow other officers of other motions. Do I have a seconder for the officer's recommendation? Do I have any other foreshadowed motions?
Thank you.
Then
Yes, I have a foreshadowed motion in the event that this
I'll move
motion
to you,
doesn't pass.
Councillor Wilenko.
Thank you. I would propose the following alternative motion: to defer this item in order that the administration may organize a briefing for elected members and to bring this item back to the ordinary council meeting scheduled for 17 December 2024.
Do we have a seconder for the deferral? That's Councillor Harkins.
Thank you.
Would you like to speak to that, Councillor Wilenko?
Thank you. I won't, you can see in the materials in front of you, it seems to me there's just, first of all, let me say thank you to the administration for pulling this together, because it's a lot of work. And to be fair, we did ask that it all be grouped together under the, under the Green Infrastructure Strategy. So the fact that it's a complex and detailed and multifaceted motion is not the fault of the administration. They simply had to grapple with what we asked them to do several months ago, and so thank you for that. But where we've landed is a complex, multifaceted motion, which arguably is, in fact, 3 motions dealing with different aspects of this issue. And I just feel that given the questions that came up at the agenda forum last week, the subsequent emails and different questions, and in fact other proposed motions that have come forward, that we're just not in a position as council yet to go forward. And I think partly this is because there has been quite a bit of really useful and interesting information come through the public consultation. We need a chance to get our heads around that and really unpack it, understand it, it may be that the motion is substantially the same that comes back to us in 2 months' time, but I think we just need to have that time to be able to go through it and understand it. And I don't think that there's anything pressing us. I'm not aware of anything pressing us per se that means that we couldn't defer it by a couple of months to make sure that we get it right, because this is a pretty important strategy. As pointed out, the original NAM was 2008, then it was 2015, now here we are 2024, so it doesn't come up very often that these plans come around, so it's important to spend the time, I think, and the energy to understand it. And also, as mentioned by a number of people already, that there are other people that we still probably need to talk to as well, just to make sure we get the full picture.
Thank you. I'd endorse the comments made by Councillor Walenko, and just to comment that clearly there was a lot of questions asked at the agenda forum, hence the amount of blue in the report, meaning changes that were made. And again, taking nothing away from the administration, because it's an incredible job, and having to pull it all together and the consultation. But as we've seen from a couple of emails, there are a couple of little things that need to be tweaked. Discussions about replacing NIPS, there's an error there and so on. So I think it's pertinent and wise on this occasion. I'm not a big one for deferrals and so on, but in this case it's so important that we do get it right. So I would endorse Councillor Walenko's motion. Thank you.
I'm planning on moving a little amendment, but just wondering if the mover and the seconder might be happy just to incorporate the words no later than the 17th, for where it says schedule the meeting for the 17th of December, just put no later than. So if the administration has capacity to bring it back to an earlier meeting, that it comes back earlier. Would you be agreeable to that being incorporated? Okay. Does anybody want to speak against the alternate councillor motion, the deferral motion?
Is this the appropriate time to foreshadow my motions? Or
Yes, it is, yes.
Okay, so should this, well, I've got two things. There's an additional amendment if this motion stays on foot that I'd like to add to it. But then I've got three foreshadowed motions if this motion fails and we have the substantive motion.
Okay. So if you would like to move your amendment now, that would be the time to do so.
Yeah.
And is it with us here in our pack?
It is, yes, with you. My amendment was sort of in line with yours, Councillor Sadler, but I was actually arguing for the briefing for elected members to occur in late October or early November, and for it to come back to the ordinary council meeting in November. And then I also had an additional section to, would you like me to read that out as well?
Yes, I'm just trying to find your one here to see it in front of me.
It looks like this. I don't know how helpful that is. It's one page. Oh. Am I the only one who's got it?
Okay. Okay. So would you mind reading that out now? Thank you. And then we'll see if you've got a second.
All of it?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.
So to defer this item in order that the administration may organise a briefing for elected members in late October or early November, and to bring this item back to the ordinary council meeting scheduled for 26th of November 2024. And 3, as part of the briefing, the administration will respond to queries and concerns from councillors forward to the administration at least 5 working days prior to the briefing.
Do you have a seconder for your amendment? Then it is lost for the lack of a seconder. Does anyone want to speak against the amendment? A motion, sorry. Thank you very much for correcting me. And if no one wants to speak against the deferral motion, then I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Okay, so there's none against. That was unanimous. So the next item that we were doing was 11.1, the cat containment motion on page 40. I assume that you're going to want to be moving that one, Councillor.
Sorry, yes, I do. I'd like...
So just give you a chance to...
Just finding it.
Get your page, yeah, absolutely. Okay. So if you'd like to read out your motion, if people wanted to leave from after the green infrastructure, I'll just let people move away. Thank you very much for attending. But people are very welcome to stay for the cat containment item as well. I'm not trying to usher people out.
Sorry, okay.
So if you wouldn't mind reading your councillor motion, and then we'll seek a seconder.
Okay. So Council requests administration in the next 3 months to bring to a briefing forum an investigation of existing cat welfare and containment local laws, the feasibility of a local cat management law for the town, suggestions for appropriate community consultation and engagement, the resource implications and any other relevant matters. Can I withdraw the second point of that motion, or do I need to keep them both on foot?
You can withdraw, I think you can withdraw the second part of that motion if you would like to, because it doesn't change the meaning of that. I'm comfortable with that. So it's just point one.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry, but we're all lost here.
Okay, so we're on item 11.1.
So it's on page 40.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. But no, but you're in the agenda, not in the amendments.
Are we already in the minute?
No,
we're in the
we're
agenda on page 40.
We're in the agenda on page 40, and Councillor Bulbeck has just read out her part one of her councillor motion, but she's actually sought leave just to actually move that and not to move the second part. And given that that doesn't actually change the overall intent, I think it's reasonable for her just to stick with part one. So part one remains. We're just seeking a seconder for part one of her councillor motion. Do we have a seconder? People can second and move amendments as well.
Can I move an amendment?
If it needs to be seconded first, which you can do. Okay, well, I'm happy to second it for the purposes of debate, yes. So, Councillor Bulbeck.
Sorry, or Irvine?
So, I've seconded it, so now you're
talk
speaking to your motion.
Yeah. So I've adapted my rationale somewhat, but I'll read it out now. Roaming domestic cats are a threat to themselves, our wildlife, our families and the community. The RSPCA's bottom line is keeping owned cats contained at home keeps them and wildlife safe. This councillor motion is not calling for a cat local law in Cottesloe, but to take a small and easy step in educating ourselves about the issues. On average, keeping a cat at home extends its life expectancy from 3 years to between 12 and 18 years. A free-roaming domestic cat kills between 75 and 186 mammals, birds and reptiles each year. Council has heard from several residents who have suffered invasions of their quiet enjoyment, including birds and animals killed in their gardens and verges because neighbours' cats are not contained. Cat containment will assist the council in achieving the council plan. Although the council plan does not explicitly propose a local cat law as one of its strategies, neither do public toilets appear in any of the strategies. Councillors were advised against excessively detailed strategies, which we were told somewhat hamstrung council during the period of the previous council plan. On this basis, council should be open to mechanisms for delivering our objectives, even if these mechanisms do not explicitly appear in our council plan. 2 of our council plan objectives relate to the issue of cat welfare and management, healthy natural environs and infrastructure meeting the needs of our community, a vibrant and sustainable place to live, visit and enjoy. There is indisputable evidence that roaming cats undermine the health of our natural environs and the sustainability of our green infrastructure, including the native verges planted by residents with the town's encouragement. Roaming cats also undermine the enjoyment of residents living in their vicinity. At the operational level, the town proposes to deliver a green infrastructure strategy. Objective 3 of the GIS is improve natural habitats and promote biodiversity conservation. This is summarised in the community survey as enhance the biodiversity of native vegetation to benefit local animal species and contribute to habitat and ecological expansion in various town areas. 5 of the 6 elements of the action plan discuss the promotion of wildlife, native plants and animals, develop suitable habitats for target species, including birds, small reptiles and pollinators, provide information to residents on appropriate species to support local wildlife, undertake joint initiatives with stakeholders like Cottesloe Coast Care to promote the protection and expansion of Indigenous flora and fauna, encourage developers to incorporate wildlife corridors in their projects. It is counterproductive for the town to promote the expansion of wildlife via its own activities and those of residents and partners in the corporate and community sector, and to do nothing to protect the wildlife from the clearly established threat of death and injury from roaming cats. Therefore, appropriate cat management has a clear connection with meeting Objective 3 in the GIS. I'll stop there.
Thank you.
More I could say, but I'll stop.
I seconded this because I was very keen to hear your views, but I am aware that there is an amendment on foot which I probably have greater alignment with. But what I will say is I do agree that it was very appropriate that we had a high-level council plan so that we did give ourselves flexibility to look at things which were relevant. And I think that our green infrastructure is an important part of our plan, and the accompanying biodiversity is something which the community does really support as well. But I'm really wanting to make sure that we move things forward in a way which is incredibly mindful of the town's resources and also builds momentum and support in the community rather than going out hard, getting massive pushback and things stopping. So I'd much rather continue to steer the ship in a thoughtful way forward, and I congratulate Councillor Bulbeck on this initiative, but I think there's an amendment to follow, and I'm not going to steal Councillor Irvine's thunder, which I think is going to be a good first step before progressing further, which is more of an acknowledgement of the town's resources. So that's my support. And if someone would like to, does anyone want to speak against? Or
Well, I'd just like to foreshadow an alternate motion that's been circulated.
Thank you. And are you wanting to speak for or against the motion at this point in time? Keep your powder dry.
Yeah, I will choose not to. I trust councillors have read the circulated alternate motion, so I won't speak at this point.
Okay, thank you. Is anybody wanting to speak in favour? Councillor Irvine, you said you had an amendment that you were wanting to move.
Yeah, look, it's a fairly minor amendment. Apologies, I didn't make red. Just said in the next 2 months rather than the next 3 months, if agreed, that we would bring a presentation by the town of Claremont of their local law 2023 as it pertains to cats, on how the town developed and introduced the local law, its community engagement plan executed and consultations undertaken, resource implications both in devising the law and enforcing it. And then I had some deletions there. So it's more or less just inserting that we take some lessons learned potentially from the town of Claremont if they're willing to come and give us a bit of a briefing forum as councillors. I sort of commend Councillor Bulbeck for putting this motion forward and all the work that she's personally put into bringing it forward. But I'm sort of thinking, as the Deputy Mayor said, the resources of the town are very limited. So if we can, get some synergies there and some learnings, that would be terrific. Thank you.
Just in a second, Councillor Wilenko.
No, I'm not seconding. I'm asking a question.
Yes, but I'm just about to seek a clarification from the CEO about something. Mr. Scott, we've said bring to council briefing a presentation by the town of Claremont. We can't actually instruct the town of Claremont, so are you thinking that some wording needs to be changed to invite the town of Claremont?
Through the chair, there's a lot of information on how town of Claremont actually went through the process in regards to developing their cat management local law or the animal local law. Whether it's a staff presentation or a town of Claremont presentation, I think we're adequately resourced.
Okay, so we don't need a change.
Doesn't necessarily need to mention the town of Claremont because if they choose or unable to provide the resources, it could compromise the resolution.
Okay.
So I think it's just.
So you'd be happy to a presentation.
By the administration in regards to the town of Claremont.
Okay.
Local law 2023.
Okay. So we haven't actually sought a seconder for Councillor Irvine's amendment. So I will get your question. I'm just going to get this little bit answer. So I've
to do
got
with the motion, though.
Yes, Councillor Wilenko, I'm sorting this out. You just need to wait because we've got all the time in the world. Councillor Irvine, are you? We need to get a seconder first. I'm happy to second it, and then we can. Both of us agree to remove Town of Claremont?
Yes, I think I did try and cover what the CEO said in brackets, if agreed. Yeah. I did add that, but I do think what the CEO has recommended is better. And yes, that would be good.
I think through the chair, if I may, the wording should read along the lines, request the administration in the next 2 months to bring to a council briefing forum a presentation on the Town of Claremont Local Law 2023 as it pertains to cats,
Yes.
etc.
Yep.
Whether it's a presentation by the administration or the town of Claremont, I think that the administration would still organise that.
I agree with that change. If
Ms
yep.
Pilkington, have you got that? Because I can read it out to you now if you have any uncertainty. Okay. I'm an excellent single tasker, Councillor Willinco. You have a question?
My question is the second paragraph, item 2, still part of your amendment?
Yes.
So,
So
Councillor,
we are going to continue to-
Councillor,
Because I thought it was taken out of
so
Councillor's
yeah,
motion.
so I think
in the
it's-
main
it's-
motion. So is that now being reinserted is my
Oh,
question.
yes. No. That comes out. Yes.
thank you. Thank you very much, Councillor Wenko. Would anybody like to speak? Councillor Irvine, if you'd like to speak to your motion, your amendment.
Yeah, only just to say that limited resources in the town, so we acknowledge that, and any we'd be very interested to hear what other towns have achieved and how they've done it, and in order to optimise and get synergies for what we're looking to do. Thank you.
And I'll just speak to say that it's a neighbouring local government. Cats roam, the more synergies that you've got across local governments. Community members also change suburbs, so if we can actually get alignment across suburbs with local laws, I think that's going to create a great deal of clarification as well. So I think, but in the first instance, we're seeking information is the most important thing. Would anybody like to speak against? Councillor Harkins.
I'll just speak against the amendment because it's basically the same thing that the motion, excuse me, that the motion is trying to say, that we're going to get cracking with dealing with cats in a briefing. So I would speak against the amendment, and I'm against the motion because I have foreshadowed my alternate motion.
Thank you, Councillor Harkins. Does anyone want to speak in favour? Okay. Councillor Heath wanted to speak against, so Councillor Bulbeck. Councillor Bulbeck speaking in favour, and then Councillor Heath speaking against.
Sorry, and I'd also just like to clarify, are we saying request the administration in the next 2 months to bring to a councillor briefing forum a presentation on the town of Claremont's animal local cat law as it pertains to etc.?
Yes.
Or so it's
Correct.
only going to be the town of Claremont's
Yes.
local law. Okay. I guess we can ask questions or whatever. Just it's
Thank you.
now quite compressed.
Okay.
But yes.
Does anybody want to speak in favour? Councillor Heath, you want to speak against?
Yes, please. Yes, I just wanted to say, on my reading of the local law that the town of Claremont have done, they don't refer to containment of cats at all. And I know that there may be an interesting legal issue there, but all the issues that Councillor Bulbeck has provided to us, all the information, and also the deputation that we heard last week, all the problems with the attack on our animals, and also the danger to actually cats themselves by roaming. The issue of containment, that is the major thing, and I wouldn't want to waste anyone's time looking at the town of Claremont's law when it doesn't actually deal with containment. And I think if we give ourselves a little bit longer and we see at the December desktop review, as foreshadowed by Councillor Harkins' amendment, I think we can have a full look at the containment issue then.
Thank you, Councillor Heath. Does anyone else want to speak in favour or against? If there's, Councillor Bulbeck.
Sorry, can I clarify this? It's December 2025 the desktop review is proposed for, not this December.
Correct.
Yes.
I'm going to put the amendment to the vote. All those in favour? Against? So that is lost. So there was Councillor Sadler, Bulbeck and Irvine in favour, and everyone else was against. So we're now going to go to Councillor Harkins' foreshadowed motion. Oh, this amendment, sorry. I'm sorry, thank you very much for clarifying. I got myself a little bit lost. So going back then to Councillor Bulbeck, does anybody else want to speak in favour of the motion?
I'd like to,
Yes.
I'd like to speak in favour. I didn't support the amendment because it didn't seem to me to make sense to limit ourselves to the town of Claremont. I like this wider approach, which is to simply investigate and come back with a briefing on the various issues, suggestions for appropriate community consultation, resource implications, any other relevant matters. This makes sense to me, so I just thought this main motion is appropriate. Thanks.
Okay. Does anybody want to speak against the motion? Sorry, in favour of the motion? It's Councillor Bulbeck. Anyone else want to speak against? Then Councillor Bulbeck, if you'd like to sum up. You just decided you didn't before. But I suppose you can. So I will let you speak against.
I fear I need to speak against. You've read the foreshadowed motion. Just in a nutshell, I'm not debating the merits of cat containment at all. Clearly, there are very important issues that should potentially be dealt with. All I'm saying is let's follow a process. So I'm not kicking the can down the road, but I'm saying let's follow a process, which I will hopefully outline when I speak regarding the foreshadowed motion. So I would urge you to have a look at the foreshadowed motion before you vote on this motion. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak in favour? Then I'll ask Councillor Bulbeck then to sum up.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with Councillor Wilenko, the way it's gone. This actually does allow for a wider discussion of appropriate cat management and welfare. I can say it now or I can say it later, but between now and December 2025, we will actually, the cats in Cottesloe, estimated on the basis of how many cats there are that are roaming and registered and how many there are that are unregistered, will have killed 63,400 animals, most of them native.
I'm now going to put Councillor Bulbeck's councillor motion to the vote. All those in favour? Against? So that is 1. Thank you. Passed. Passed, sorry, by 5-2. There you go. So next item is, so that was councillors, yeah. 10.1.3. Yep, thank you. I'll just wait for everybody to leave. Okay, so going back to the original order now, we have item 10.1.3, Seaview Golf Club new entry and accessibility upgrades to Clubhouse on page 18 with the officer's recommendation on page 22. Okay. Okay, just finding that. Okay. So is there anybody wanting to move the officer's recommendation, or we can go straight to the alternate motion? Councillor Harkins. You're moving the officer's recommendation? Do we have a seconder? Councillor Irvine. Councillor Harkins. Would you like to speak in favour?
Yes, I'd speak in favour of the motion. I have read the alternate motion. However, I do believe that time is the issue that I have with saying let's wait for feedback before we allow the golf club to go ahead with their changes. I think it's going to be quite some time before anything is likely to be approved. So in the meantime, I think the community has been asking for quite some time better access to the golf club and particularly ladies' bathroom facilities. So I'm in favour of going ahead at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harkins. Councillor Irvine, would you like to speak? You're a speaker seconder.
Yeah, I have nothing to add. I second it on the reasons, same reasons that Councillor Harkins has stated.
Would anyone like to speak against?
I would like to foreshadow my alternate motion. I don't know if I do that now.
You can do that now. And are you
Thanks.
also then wanting to speak against this motion, given that you're foreshadowing an alternate motion?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Yes, please carry
I
on.
would like to speak against the motion. We have just consulted our community, and I think it's really important for us to consider the feedback that has happened. We have it. We have all the results. We know that there's been approximately 270 responses. And I think that the building has sat there. It's 55 years old. Now that we have feedback from the community, now they want us to approve plans. I think it is vitally important for us to listen to the community, and we can do that in very, very, very short term, and then revisit this. If the community feedback is that they do just want accessibility and female toilets, then we can run with these plans and endorse them to the WAPC. But I think it would be inappropriate to endorse these plans as they currently are, given that we have had a community consultation, we have the results sitting there, and it just needs to come to our briefing next month, and then we will know what the community has said. So I think that timing is everything, and that it is vital for us to consider the community feedback which we've already received, and we have to think about the mixed signal that it would send to the community if we disregard that and endorse these plans to the WAPC.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak in favour of the officer's recommendation? I would just like to speak against and to support the foreshadowed motion for a deferral. And my reason for that is I think that we need to, part of what we're doing is actually communicating to our community about what's happening in the timing and strengthening our relationship with the golf club and with the state government. So I think what we're wanting to say is, had this come along at any other time, a year earlier, for example, I think we would have supported this. But at the moment, it's just very confusing for the community for us to be actually supporting something at the very moment that we're considering their opinions. It almost makes it seem like we're going to disregard the opinions of the community because we've taken this decision. And that isn't actually the case. We're really in favour of support of universal access and improved amenities for women. But I think that the timing is unfortunate. It just is. As the golf club had its process and we've had ours, and I think that we can communicate that to the golf club in a way which builds our relationship with them and with our community, and end up with a good outcome. So for that reason, I speak against the officer's recommendation and will be supporting, if I get the chance, the deferral motion. Thank you. Does anybody else want to speak in favour? Councillor Heath, I haven't seen a wave. Or are you wanting to speak, or are you fine there?
I wanted to speak against the motion.
Okay, if there's no one else wanting to speak in favour, I'll let you speak against, and we can pop to the vote. Councillor Heath, go ahead.
Yes, so I just endorse the comments of Councillor Mason and also yourself, Councillor Sadler. The timing is rather unfortunate. We have got the dilapidation report about that building, the building condition report, and I think we need to think carefully about endorsing a plan to do some renovations to that building, which may well not be in parallel with the decisions of the Clubhouse Redevelopment Group, and I think it's very unwise of us to agree to some things that it's not sustainable at all. That would be very poor sustainability need to be removed. It seems very wasteful.
Thank you very much, Councillor Heath. Just before I ask Councillor Harkins to sum up, I just want a point of clarification. That group is an advisory group. They can't make decisions, just that the community is aware of that. I know that was your intent. Councillor Harkins, would you like to sum up?
Yes, I would like to sum up. I'd just like to point out that these plans from the golf club are not new. They have been talking about upgrading the universal access and the female toilets for many, many years. It's our timing that's new. It's our decision to talk about what we want to do at that clubhouse. So that's the first issue. The other issue, if it comes back, we get the feedback and it comes to a council meeting in December and the public, I don't know what the public are going to say, but let's say they say we want a fancy dancy restaurant there. Are we going to, are we building it? Are we doing it next year? It's very much what are we doing with that community consultation and who's paying for it and all the rest of it. Whereas the club are saying, no, we're ready to do universal access and a female toilet. I think it's unfair of us not to let them go ahead and do it. I'm unclear what will happen in December and where we go from that with the feedback that we get. Do we say, oh, this was interesting feedback, it could happen in 10 years' time, therefore, okay, you can build your ramp and your toilets. Meanwhile, they've lost 3 months. So I'm a bit unclear about what would happen in December. And I failed to see why we would wait until December. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Harkins. I'm going to put that to the vote now. All those in favour of the officer's recommendation? All those against? So that is lost. So Councillor Harkins and Councillor Irvine voting in favour. We'll now go to the foreshadowed motion. If you would be happy to read that out for me, Councillor Mason.
Thank you. So the motion is to defer this item in order that the administration may collate the community feedback from the recent survey in relation to the clubhouse and organise a briefing for elected members to understand this feedback. And number 2, to bring this item back to the ordinary council meeting no later than, if I may, make that small adjustment, no later than the 17th, or no later than the December OCM.
Did you catch that minor change there, Ms Pilkington?
So instead of it's just adding no later than the December meeting. Thank you so much, Jacko.
Okay.
Ms Pilkington.
Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Bulbeck. Councillor Mason, if you'd like to speak to your deferral motion.
Yes, I just think it makes complete sense. We've consulted our community. The golf club has had previous opportunities and funding to make changes, which they have not done. So I know that this is really needed, and I absolutely agree. Absolutely, that accessibility and female appropriate change rooms, etc., are required. But I just think that failure to consider the community's feedback prior to endorsing this to the WAPC sends a mixed signal to the community. And I think that sacrificial works, even if agreed by the club, are, as Councillor Heath mentioned, wasteful of resources and of club members' monies. So I think that no one wants to spend $250,000 for it to potentially be ripped apart. So I just don't think that makes sense at all. Meeting modern code requirements for the current building is also not a requirement in the short term. And that we have established a Seaview Clubhouse redevelopment committee, of which the golf club has members, so they fully understand that we are looking at making those improvements and consulting the community. And I think that a briefing would provide elected members with an opportunity to look at all of that community feedback and decide the way forward. The reason that we went ahead with a survey and asked our community was that we need to understand what the plan is, and we might not know the timeframe because we don't know the scope of that currently, but we should absolutely be given an opportunity to listen to what the community has said It's closed now. It closed over a week ago, and it would be really easy for us to have a look at that in the next couple of months.
Thank you. Councillor Bulbeck, did you want to speak to the alternate motion?
Yes, I do. Just really to endorse what Councillor Mason has to say, and I do take Councillor Harkin's point that we won't have a resolution of what we're going to do with the clubhouse in December, but I think there is an issue of optics here that we have just completed a community consultation. We're recommending delaying it for a couple of months. It's been a long-standing plan by the golf club, which they have had opportunities in the past to carry out and haven't for various reasons. The other thing I'd like to say is that this community feedback doesn't just inform us, but it will also inform the Seaview Golf Club. And when they see, all I know is from what I did when I went to one of the open house discussions at the Anderson Pavilion, which everybody's very positive to have something really big and wonderful. But when the Seaview Golf Club sees what has been recommended by the community, it might also change their mind about whether they want to make these sacrificial developments too.
Would anybody like to speak against? If not, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. The next item is item 10.1.6, Welga AGM voting delegates. I believe we have a motion that you're going to move, Councillor Heath. Is that correct?
Yes, just to insert some names there.
Okay. I'm assuming that you've discussed that with the relevant people.
I actually haven't.
Okay, so you move it and I'll second it really quickly.
But I didn't want in any way to think anyone think I was shirking my responsibility, and I'm more than happy to insert my name there instead if they would prefer, but I'm deferring to their wisdom.
Okay, can I backtrack after me being a bit cheeky to you? Can I get you to read the officer recommendation and insert the correct names, and then we'll seek a seconder. So page 38. I can read it out if you like, and you can just say the name. So it says that council appoint Councillor
Harkin,
and Councillor
Malenko,
as the voting delegates for the 2024 Welga Annual General Meeting, and appoint Councillor Heath as the proxy delegate for the 2024 Welga Annual General Meeting, should a voting delegate at point 1 be unable to attend. So that's the moved by Councillor Heath. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Mason. Did you want to? I think you've already spoken to it, haven't you? Did the seconder want to speak?
No, thank you.
Okay. If there's no one wanting to speak against, I will put it to the vote. All those in favour? That is unanimous. We have no receipts of minutes and recommendations from committees. We have already attended to item 11.1, and so then we are now going to the closed part of the meeting. And I just wanted to make sure the community was aware that the reason that the meeting has been closed for the several items, a couple of them are where there's legal advice being sought, and there is an item with regard to the football club lighting, and that is because I think the profit and loss statements, etc., have been included as attachments, so we're not really in a position ourselves to reveal the profit and loss statements of a club, and so that's the only reason why it's been closed. For that item has been withdrawn and has been made confidential.
In relation to that item, yes, there's the club's financial details, not only their profit and loss, but also their entire bank statement for the last 12 months, as well as some information about contractors that they've engaged to look at the application. So, given that they're attachments to the item, our previous advice from our lawyers has been that the item should be considered behind closed doors. but council could release some information as part of the resolution.
And could I please offer an apology, because clearly you've been here for that item, and what I should have said at the beginning was, are there any other items which people are here for? I thought that you were here with regard to the green infrastructure, so if you're here with regard to one of those items, I would have actually provided some commentary so you could be aware. So, thank you. Good night. Yes, so I'm going to move a motion now to go behind closed doors. I'm moving that from the chair. Could I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Wilenko. All those in favour? That is unanimous. Yes, okay, yeah. So I didn't give a pause there. move the three resolutions.
I'll read out the resolution.
Yeah, so the first one is item 13.1.1, 149 Marine Parade Cottesloe lease, request for an extension of fit-out period. And the resolution is that in consideration of increased value of the scope of works, Council agrees to an extension of the fit-out period at 149 Marine Parade Cottesloe from 13th of August 2024 to 24 October 2024. That was the first resolution that was behind closed doors. The second was 13.1.2, Cottesloe Junior Football Club, Club Night Lights Program funding application. And the officer recommendation is that Council 1 provides in principle support for the Cottesloe Junior Football Club's, the Magpies Club Night Lights Program funding application, subject to consultation feedback received from surrounding residents. 2, instructs the Chief Executive Officer to A, liaise with the Cottesloe Junior Football Club for them to prepare a resident consultation plan to the satisfaction of the administration and to circulate this plan amongst elected members for feedback before commencing consultation. B, upon the completion of the consultation to the satisfaction of the administration, table the results to an ordinary council meeting together with the planning application Form 1 for Council to determine whether it wishes to provide continued support for the application by authorising the Chief Executive Officer to sign the planning application Form 1 to request the approval of the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage for the works. 3, notes that unconditional support is only given when the following criteria are met. A, approval from the Department of Planning, Lands and Heritage for the Magpies lighting upgrade works on Cottesloe Oval. B, approval of a building permit application. C, the Magpies providing evidence to the satisfaction of the Chief Executive Officer that they have sufficient funds to complete light works at the time when the grant agreement and construction contract needs to be executed. And D, a funding agreement is entered into with the Magpies for them to make a contribution to a reserve for the future renewal of the lights and to be responsible for all the maintenance costs. That's the end of that resolution. And then item 13.1.1, Chief Executive Officer Performance Review, in brackets, correction. The recommendation 1, that Council by absolute majority revokes Council Resolution OCM 140/2024 as an item of new and urgent business, in brackets 12.2.1, Chief Executive Officer Performance Review, as it was not formally accepted by Council at the 27 August 2024 Ordinary Council meeting, in accordance with Clause 5.2 of the Town of Cottesloe Meeting Procedures Local Law, prior to the item being considered by Council. Then, Council Resolution 2, that the Council by absolute majority, subject to the Council's agreed changes, 1, notes the appraisal of Mr Matthew Scott, Chief Executive Officer, has been completed for the period of July 2023 to June 2024. 2, endorses by simple majority the findings of the confidential summary report dated August 2024 as circulated to the elected members as presented by Price Consulting Group, and thanks Mr Scott for his efforts, most sincerely. 3, resolves that Mr Scott's total remuneration package for the year coming remains unchanged. 4, approves the CEO's performance criteria for the 2024-2025 period as per attachment 1, as circulated to elected members. Thank you very much, and I will now close the meeting at 8:08 p.m. Thank you.